So I've done my portrait. I decided that I would go with a self-portrait. It's not the best one in the world, but it does the job. So this really is a practice, and I said in my last lesson that eventually, especially if you're working at GCSE or A level, you'll have lots of versions of whatever it is you are working on for your project. So you would have several portraits, several drawings and so on. This is a practice to get my skill level up because I'm a bit rusty, so you need to do that. If you were doing football, it would be training. You would practice your corners or your penalty taking, and the more you practice, the better you get. So my next step now is I need, because it's a portrait, I want to say something about my subject. So if you were choosing a famous person, you would go onto the internet and you would find information about that person, maybe some images about the sorts of things that they have, and you might put those around them. Okay, so symbols of that person to capture a bit about their personality. I would also be thinking about how I'm going to approach how I do the portrait. So on my next sheet of paper, you can see here, now if it was my sketchbook, it would be another page, but I like to work on separate paper so I can compare one thing to another. So if you look at this sheet of paper, you can see it's in another sketchbook. I've done quite a geometric version of another portrait I did of myself, and you can see that the angles of the eyes are different and so on. And all I did was to make, to go over it with a ruler, tracing it, and I've got this idea. So that's number two, second idea. What I'm going to do now though is I'm going to make a little thumbnail sketch. That's a small drawing of my portrait. Okay, so today what you'll be doing, we'll be doing what I call a thumbnail sketch to get my ideas for what I'm going to add around my portrait. I'm going to work on the same sheet of paper as this one. Reason for that is that it allows me to build up what's called a body of work. So see, one idea, ideally this one would be on the previous page or even on the same page, so I'd have a double page of ideas. So at GCSE level and later year 9, which is where you guys are, you would be developing that sequence of ideas. So all I'm going to do with this thumbnail sketch, I don't want to make it too, it doesn't need to take too long, so it's literally drawing very lightly, just a basic idea of my portrait that I've done on the other sheet of paper. So I am copying it, but I'm doing it very basically, right? So there, because what I want to do is focus on what's going around the picture. So I don't want to take too long. Now obviously you guys might think, well, actually that's my best drawing, but you do what you can. It just means you need more practice. So there we go. There's my thumbnail sketch. Literally takes a few seconds. I can add in the eyes if I want to, but I don't really need to for this stage. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to frame that off like that, because that's where my portrait is going to be. So you can see now, if I show that up there, that's what I've got, and I could add more if I wanted to. So my design ideas. So in here, in this space, I am now going to add my ideas. If they change, I will do more, even smaller up here. So when you see the next frame in the video, you should see a set of ideas that I'm going to use to create my portrait. Okay, and that's what you guys should be doing for this lesson. So if you look at the next set of images, you'll see where I'm going with it. What I've done now is I've finished doing my thumbnail sketch. The first thing that you might notice from the last shot is that I've extended the sides of it, because as soon as I started working on the design, I realised that I didn't really want it to be portrait, and it was too restrictive. I put the frame in for demonstration purposes to show you where you were going for it, but I usually end up putting my frames in afterwards. So you can see there, all I did was just look at my workspace, and I just added some ideas in there. I've not gone into detailed drawings of them. If you see on the right hand side, just put an angle poised lamp, so it's my workspace, and I put some of the shelves and just some of the things that I know what they are, There's a sort of fish tank thing area where I keep some of my collections of things. There's a computer screen behind it and some shelves. And what I've also done is I've labelled them. So where it says window, just zooming on there, let's just see if I zoom in there, you can see I've just written window and then looking out the window. So I'm just illustrating reminding myself of what I was thinking of at the time, but also, especially if I was at a GCSE level, I'd be indicating to somebody who is assessing my work that that's my idea. And then I've put down here reflected light, and then I put here, am I looking at the screen? Got it spelt wrong? Doesn't matter, just cross it out. We can always change that later if spelling is not your thing and it's not mine. So that's not a problem. Equally, I wrote it in pencil, so I can do that. So I've just listed the sorts of things that I am thinking about. Okay, quite a key thing. Moving up the page, you can see that I've done another little thumbnail sketch, because when I was down at this one, I was in the area where I work, and I thought, well, actually, maybe I just want to do a portrait where I'm looking out of the window, which is that idea there. So maybe it's just a simple, non-controversial portrait of me or anybody else sitting at the table where I can look out my window. The other thing that I've decided as well, rather than choosing somebody who's a famous person, is me. That's because all the things I can then add into my portrait, I've got them here. They're around the house, and maybe my portrait is about life during lockdown and what we do. I'm not sure yet, because this is just the early designs, but you can see now with that last one that I did develop for another purpose, I've added it into my page, and now I'm starting to get an ideas page. I've even changed the last one here, this one from here to there. All that is just changing the same basic idea from landscape to portrait, another way of developing more ideas. Very clearly I am now pitching how you can work to how you would work at GCSE level. So that's very deliberately looking at giving those of you who are thinking of art some idea of how you might develop a project at GCSE level. But equally, you should be developing your pages and your work for this project in the same way. So for today, you should have your little sketch of your portrait, what you're going to do, and then you should begin to add backgrounds to it and then develop other ideas. And that may take you more than one lesson to do. So we will be doing this over the next 2 to 3 lessons. Okay, that's it.